Rachel DesRochers, your host of Kitchen Convos, and I'm so excited to be here with you today, Ronda Breeden, owner of Arnold's Bar and Grill. Arnold's has a very long running history, so I'm going to let you tell us a little bit about it, but thanks for taking time to chat with me today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so excited. We've been Facebook friends forever, and I just see so many awesome, positive things from you. Thanks. And so I'm so happy to be here today.
I'm so happy. Yeah.
So Arnold's was built. The building was built in 1838, and it was just one unit, one side.
Okay.
And now we have the middle room, which was a feed store, and then the great courtyard, which was a stable. So kind of picture that as a community in 1838 when this actually started out as a men's salon.
Oh.
And ironically, a woman built the building, which back in 1838 there were only two ways that a woman could build a building, and number one is if it was family money, and number two if there was a man behind
Sure.
that person. So from the research has been done, that was kind of what has been said. So in 1861, Arnold's opened up as a bar. It's the longest running continuous operated bar in the city of Cincinnati. One of the top 10 in the state, one of the top in the country.
Mm. So I have to just stop. All that is amazing, and here we are. It's 2018. We're sitting in this historic building, and we're upstairs right now, and all the nooks and crannies are everywhere.
It's crazy. There's a lot to this building. The Arnold family actually opened this up during Prohibition, and they moved their family to the third floor, and they did that in order to have these 5 dining rooms on the second floor.
Okay.
And then now the third floor, which used to be their home, is offices and junk rooms and storage rooms.
The catch-alls.
The catch-alls.
God bless the catch-alls.
Yeah. But it actually seats 300 people, which is very surprising
Whoa.
to people. So.
This whole building, if all 3 floors.
And the courtyard. No,
just
the first two. The
no
2
way.
floors and the courtyard. Yeah, but it's and that's by the fire department.
Yeah.
That it's like 297. So
Yeah.
we'll go with 300.
That's a packed house.
It is.
Yeah. One of my very first memories of you, so Facebook is this funny land, right, where we all see each other in this virtual world, and we're all busy and we're all working, and you and I were at Myrtle's for an event, and you stopped in the middle of like the walkway. Do you remember this? And you grabbed me and hugged me and like literally brought me to tears, thanking me, and ever since then, I've just been smitten with you because I just think that is such we need that in our society, and we need that as women. I think especially, and not to go like all into that, and we can talk more about that obviously, but to stop people in their tracks and say thank you, and you see them and you appreciate the work they're doing. I just thank you for doing that.
Well, it means so much when someone says something to me like that, or and that's part of who I am. That's part of my life. It's taken me a long time to get to that point, or it might even to find balance and to find it's not all about me. It's not, and it's about all of us as a team and community. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which I will praise all day long. We talk about it a lot in a lot of conversations and settings. I could not do what I do without my team and my family. They're cheering and rooting. It's a lot of work every single day.
Well, and I think when you isolate yourself, and I did isolate myself for a while, and then and I don't, and so you have to have those solid, supportive friends and family that are behind you. I couldn't even be any closer to my family and to my friends, and we have an amazing relationship, and it's not always about work. It's minorly about work.
Right, which we have to survive.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So now that we've got all those good heart emotions out, you said you bought Arnold's in 1992.
1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Dates. I have no concept of time, so the fact that I got the year right in the beginning, I'm I'm going full steam ahead. 1999 with a partner.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bought
Why?
her out.
Why
well,
did you guys want to buy Arnold's?
When I was 30, I knew I was going to own a restaurant.
Okay.
And we actually bought a little tiny place in Covington. And we were still working here because it only had like 20 seats. So I would leave here and go there, and she had already been there. And honestly, we killed ourselves working there. We worked so hard. And we realized that there's no way that that place was going to support 2 people because it was too tiny.
Yeah.
And we had this great delivery service. We delivered to all the bars in the city, and we would make them whatever they wanted. So if they wanted steak dinners, we would go out and we would get steak, and we would make them steak dinners, and we would take it to them. And my son and her family, they were the support. They worked there.
Yeah.
They did the delivery. So then right away, within 3 months, we were looking for a bigger place, and we had paid that place off in 3 months.
Wow.
So we had good credit, and we had looked at another place that we were going to get, but I'm a big person in faith. I'm a huge go where my mind takes me, and so I came in here on a whim and told Jim what was going on, and
Jim Tarbell was the previous owner.
Yes, he bought it in 1976. He had been my employer since 1985.
Wow. So you were here, you worked here for 15 years, 14-ish years.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, and I started as a lunch server as a single mom, worked my way up to general manager. He got elected to council.
Yep.
I wasn't going to be here anymore, and he needed somebody strong to do this.
Yeah.
And he made his decision to take a different career path. And he called me up, and we had actually put a down payment on another place. And he said, will you come talk to me? And it was a Sunday. It was in November, and it was chilly out. We're out in the courtyard. And we're sitting far apart, which I think now was interesting.
Right.
And when he presented that, I actually had no idea that he was going to present it. I thought he was going to make me a better offer to be his manager.
Yeah.
And he offered it to me, and I thought that there was no way we could ever do it. So
Yeah.
30 minutes into it, I totally believed that we could do it. And that was Jim. That's where Jim Tarbell is great at. He's great at taking people and making them believe in themselves and making them, he's done a lot of things. The Comet came out of Jim Tarbell.
Yeah.
Northside Tavern came out of him.
Right.
What's for Dinner, tons of places.
Oh my goodness, I don't think I realized. Oh, yeah.
Yes, lots of places. So then my partner was on vacation, and
You're like, hello.
well, she told me to choose because it was the one place.
That's faith right there.
Yeah, she did. She said, you choose the one that you want, because she knew I wanted this one. And so we said yes, and that I can remember being on the phone, and she's standing there, and I called the bank, and they instantly said we could have the money. And within 6 weeks, so middle of November, and we took over January 1st.
Wow, that's incredible.
So it is. And we stayed together. And, a lot of people say it's very difficult for 2 women to be partners in a really creative career.
Right.
And that is very true. And then the riots hit. So there was things piled on top of each other. And we decided to part ways. And her and I sat at a table on a 3rd floor, and we had a piece of paper, and we went back and forth with who was going to get the business, money-wise. And I was never going to stop, ever.
Right. This was it.
luckily, she stopped.
Yeah.
So then I went to borrow the money, and I had just gotten divorced, and I owned 50% of Arnold's, and she owned 50% of Arnold's, and we learned that I had no credit value. And I had perfect credit my whole life.
Right.
They would not give me a penny.
Oh
And
my gosh.
I kept extending the date and extending it, and then I had 3 credit cards with pretty high limits on them, and I had 3 friends that put a second mortgage down on their house, and they didn't. They don't have the money, so I knew I had to pay them. So I have 6 payments a month, the 3 credit cards and the 3
And this
people.
is 2001?
No, it was
2000?
2002, I think. Like right after the riots. Our partnership was dissolving before the riots.
Yeah.
So just kind of how that
It was
all
just a year
snowballed.
of, sure.
So then I have that, and
the riots impacted your business big time.
they killed it.
Yeah.
They destroyed the business, and actually it wasn't as much of the riots as it was the media.
Yeah,
And they would
always.
say,
I mean,
don't come
the best.
downtown. And there was a shooting like 10 miles away one night, and the TV was on, and they said, don't come downtown. And I stood there and cried because I knew that
Yeah.
no one was coming, and we waited on about 5 people. And it was just devastating. So then
For a
I'm doing
long
all
time.
the
Yeah.
yes, a long time
It
doing
was-
all that. Got through that. Of course, the IRS walked in one day, and it's interesting that I can even tell the story now because I never thought I would be able to tell
Right.
this story. But you know how like when you get your paycheck and there's taxes taken out. So I would get this little card, which now they take it right out of your checking
Yeah.
account. But I would get this little card saying how much I needed to pay the bank, and I would stick it in the drawer and think I would pay it when I would get enough money.
Right.
And the next thing I knew, there was like a big
A
stack.
lot. more than.
So one day they walked into, so then I had that on top of all of
Oh,
that.
Rhonda.
And I just slowly started working my way out of that and doing what I needed to do. And just slowly, one day, I had a guy from SCORE come in, and it was the greatest change in my life because I was telling every customer how horrible things were, and he said you can be a success or you can be a failure. There's no in the middle of the road in restaurant work, so you choose.
Yeah.
And you
Change the
come
story
in
you're
tomorrow.
telling.
Yeah, you change the story you're telling.
Yeah.
You change your attitude.
Yeah.
You come in tomorrow and you give everyone a pay cut, and you take a pay cut.
Yep.
And that's where you're going to start from. So the next day I brought everyone in. Everyone took a pay cut. I took a pay cut, which was funny because I would write my check and I would sit it on my desk. And I tell people this today: if you cannot afford to pay yourself, you write a check, even if you can't cash it, write a check and put it on your desk. And then all of a sudden I was able to start cashing one of those one by one. But if I didn't have any worth, I wouldn't have been able to stay here because you have, if this is your job and this is your livelihood, you have to have some kind of monetary reward for it.
Yeah.
Because you're just all of a sudden you're burnt out and you're working.
It's
for
exhausting to do that, and we did that for a long time. And
Yeah.
that's such a great tip for people, I think, because a lot of startups go, I can't take that salary that I've been used to, and of course not, right? That's part
Yeah.
of the fun of all this, maybe. But yeah, that you can at least create a system where you are writing that value down. That is so lovely.
It is.
Yeah.
So then 1 year later for Christmas, everyone that had stayed with me over that time, they got every penny of it back as their Christmas bonus.
Oh.
So that kind of shows you where, everyone thinks since this bar is so iconic, and
Right.
it is that every day people are going to come in. They still think that.
Yeah.
And it's just not true.
There's a lot. Now you have seen the resurgence of downtown. You've been through the low of the lows, and you're coming up on those highs, but you still have to work every single day at capturing people.
Well, and then also too is and I've seen it. I actually saw it before I even owned it when the Arnolds Center opened.
Yeah.
The TAF was open, and we would just get tons of people in here. And then the Arnolds Center opened, and 60 restaurants within a 4-block or 5-block radius
All
opened up.
Overnight.
Overnight,
Yeah.
they opened. And Jim Tarbell really felt that. And so then what happens is it ebb and flows. So then me coming along in the resurgence of OTR, which I couldn't be happier for,
Sure.
is that then it's pulled away, and you have to play catch up with all these buildings.
It's ebb and flow, and then this new balance, right?
Yes.
It's every day. And because it's iconic, there's a consistent story, which I love that you guys just show up and tell. It's not the new and shiny, right? It's the history, and it's the squeaky steps, and it's that you guys have been doing it for so long. I think that's what I love even about these podcasts is like I don't think I ever realized all of that about you. And I think the persistence, right? Like people say, how did you get there or why? It's because I didn't quit when it was really hard.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no other, you showed up every day, even on the days that like you didn't want to.
Well, there was no option.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, because my sanity was at probably the all-time low at that point, and it was a struggle. Do I regret it? I don't, because I don't want to live with regrets. Do I still see people? This past Sunday, I saw a guy in Kroger, and I had to say I'm sorry to him because I feel like I wasn't supportive enough for him at Arnold's. And he said, "No, you were great." I'm like, "No, please let me say I'm sorry. I've thought about you 100 times, and I could have been more supportive of you." But my mind's over here. And I'm expecting them to do their job over here. So, you know, and that's a part of it too, is that you know, I wasn't, I didn't always do things the right way, that I didn't even realize that, but that's part of life.
I don't know what the right way is though, right? I mean, I think that that's part of it, is that we are given these like parameters of like, oh, here's business, and then you're exactly right. You're like, wait, that was not in the book. that was not supposed to happen. Like the riots, right? Like that was in no book. And so we're constantly trying every single day. I was talking to someone yesterday, and she's like, I'm a planner, and I need it. And I said, that's great, but every day something that's not in your plan is going to happen. And it's about knowing how to deal with that. And either putting on a smile or not, right? Choosing like, no, you're not a failure. You're creating this amazing space, but you have to give everything into it. Everything.
And I think too, luckily for me, as I get older and I'm more understanding of my own destiny, and I can figure that out, that I'm so much calmer, and that getting upset, it doesn't fix anything.
Right.
So recently I had a situation, some breaks here every day. And I just had something break that it's a possibility that it could cost a lot of money. And I was able to think, if it does, I will be okay.
Yeah.
I have enough equity in this building where I can get a loan to take care of this issue.
Yep.
Do I want to deal with it? I don't. But also, too, if I freaked out,
everybody, it all goes downhill.
Yeah. And then I freak everybody else out, too.
Yeah. And that's...
You know?
We understand. I mean, we talk about that. We just have been dealing with walk-in issues. This summer's been brutal, and it's like, please, please just stay running. Please, freezer, don't go out. Right? Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's the bad part about summers in an old building.
Oh yeah.
Everything breaks down.
Yeah.
You know, and my kitchen is a brand new kitchen. Everything's slowly been replaced, but still, that new thing will still break.
Yes, because it's on old systems.
Yes.
Yeah. You were telling me when we first got here, so you have this amazing courtyard. You guys do live music out there all the time. But you're talking about this tarp story, and it just is, I think, to me, it speaks so much to your character, but it also speaks to what I think any entrepreneur, if you're willing to receive it, really good people show up and do really good things. So tell us about this tarp. You can talk about the courtyard and all of that, but...
Well, and also too, to tie into the story, a situation just to kind of show you how Arnold's community is in the close-knit people. There's a couple of things, and then I'll go into that. But right when the riots were settling down, there were a group of celebrities in our city that hosted many different restaurants and asked all of their friends to come. And they did this like a couple nights. They didn't just do it one night. And Pat Barry was actually our celebrity.
Okay.
And he came, and the restaurant filled. And for all these local celebrities to do that, it showed that they're a part of our community.
Absolutely.
Too. And they really realized. Jim Scott was very supportive.
I think I love that about Cincinnati.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
People show up here in the most incredible ways.
They do. I've noticed.
Still, I mean, every day. It's just, you can call anybody and say, I need this. And they're like, okay, on it.
So then also right after the riot, I don't do the Taste of Cincinnati because it's too involved for our small kitchen to handle. We just can't do it. But one year I really needed money because I needed a new refrigerator in the kitchen. And the one I had was like 6 feet long, so you can't even get them anymore. The way it was, you can't even get them. And all of my customers worked the Taste of Cincinnati so I could get my cooler fixed the way I needed to get it fixed. And but again, that's the community.
And I think it is the community, and it's being able to receive it. Because as a owner, or as a woman, or as the boss, or, I'm not, whatever title we want to put on ourselves, but there has to also come a point where, because how many times, I'll just figure it out.
Oh, I've done that.
Right? And then all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute. Like, these people are at my door saying, I'm here to help you. And you, I think that's even, like, I talk about our incubator kitchens a lot. We flung the doors open because it's like these people are like, hey, I need help. Let's all work together. Let's create this community. Just say yes.
Yeah.
Because it comes back tenfold. It's just the most incredible. And for people here to hear all of these little instances where this success, right? Like you were talking about earlier, Arnold's is this institution, and we've got this history, and so it's just the successful place. But in all hindsight, it's been grit and exhaustion and tears and late nights that has just kept pushing it uphill, which is any and all business.
And also, too, it's not just me. I have a staff of 40 people.
Absolutely. It is that staff. But as leaders, and I say that my team is amazing. The team that's with us today is amazing, and I could not do it without them, hands down. And it's because we give them the space to do it in, right? Like, we support and at the end of the day, then, my job for me is just to create space. Let's just create space for creatives to be creative in. And it turns out in all these forms, but you're doing the same exact thing, right? You're driving this gigantic ship, and all these people are right there supporting you because you're supporting them. And that's just awesome.
And that gets back to which I do want to go back to the tarp.
We're going to get the tarp in because that is a good one.
So, I had this idea in 2000 to cover the courtyard. When everything was just going to go haywire because it was the year 2000 and computers were going to stop. So I thought...
Was that Y2K? Is that
Y2K. It was, actually. Well, so I decided I wanted to do a Y2K tent revival. And that we would just put a simple tent up in the courtyard. And the next thing you know, it's this whole massive undertaking, which that would be a whole nother story on another day on how that got to be so massive and the reason why it is the way it is. But so it gets this fire-resistant plastic on it that you have to replace every year. It's not strong enough to just be replaced every year or to keep putting it back up.
Yeah.
So there is a man, he's my great buddy Dan, and he will go to bat for Arnold's every single time.
That's awesome.
He owns a very large company, and he provides this plastic. So I needed it, and I couldn't afford it, and he wouldn't let me pay. I didn't tell him I couldn't afford it. He just knew. So year after year, he kept providing plastic. He would never charge me. And then one year I came to him and I said, I'm going to start paying for my plastic. I can afford it now. So that was so amazing. I mean, it's really honestly a great story. And then he is in the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick, and the parade used to go by Arnold, and it doesn't anymore. It goes down on the banks. But there's like 10 holidays a year that is our we need to make money to support. It's just part of the way the
part of it
business
is.
goes.
Yep.
And when it moved, the Friendly Sons of St. Patrick decided to fill this restaurant. So every year, this restaurant is filled on Parade Day for St. Patrick's Day because those guys support me, and they support me all year.
Awesome.
And it's amazing that Arnold's couldn't do it without the community. We're not a restaurant that can open new and fill our seats up instantly because we've already been here. So you have to have the community.
Well, I think it's good too. I think it's important for people to see, because we don't see that, right? Like, and it's not like we want to sit here and talk about how hard it is, but it's part of the stories and part of what we're creating. And it's okay for us to say, I've done all of this because it's something I believe in. Yeah. I love that. I love the tarp story. It's a good one.
Yeah, it's awesome. You know, and it's story like that after story.
Absolutely.
I could go on and on all day.
You guys are kind of known for this bathtub.
We are. So
what's the deal in the tub?
well, you know, it's so funny. For years I thought, because during Prohibition they had bathtub gin.
Yeah.
And I always thought, like, I can picture in my head, like, gin, and they have this big stir thing. Yeah. But the reason they use bathtubs is because they could have the still and have the liquor, and then it gets filled with water. And there was a big enough area from the spout that they could fit the container under to fill with water.
Okay.
So that is how bathtub gin came along. So then I thought I wanted a motorized bathtub. So then, of course, we did a motorized bathtub. And I always had problems. It never worked out. So a couple years ago, I had a new motorized bathtub built by these people that make motorcycles, and I've had nothing but trouble with that one. So I don't think bathtubs are supposed to be motorized. Right. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking.
Just little things.
Just little things. But Pam Kravitz, which is a local big in the arts, she one year we asked her to drive the bathtub, and she was so amazing that she is now the official and only bathtub driver. Unless she can't make it. And you can
spot it in all the parades, all the,
Well, we have
and she does the
bubbles.
best costumes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they're awesome.
So fun. I love Pam.
Again, that's where she gets great people to work around her.
Yes.
So, you know, and that's...
You attract each other for sure.
It is, it's awesome.
That's awesome. And so your owner, your son also is here.
My son, several years ago, he kind of needed to get his life together, and he did. And he had worked here always until he needed to get his life together. And then he's like, hey, what do you think about me coming back? And I said, yeah, I need a place as a dishwasher. So he came in as a dishwasher, and then a couple weeks later, he, trying to be delicate at how I say this, but so I moved him into serving. Yeah. And he said, hey, I got a buddy that needs a dishwasher job. So I said, okay, well, let's put him in there. So then I needed a prep cook, and I moved this guy out of the dish tank and into the prep, and then Chris into serving. So there's this great place called The Gateway on Vine Street that is for people in recovery.
Sure.
And the next thing I knew, my whole kitchen was with guys from that house. And my son had actually moved up to, his job was to, anything that could, sorry, I'm like slipping a little. We have edit, right?
Yeah, you're good.
So he started doing like social media and stuff like that just when things just started kind of coming out. And so it was getting where he was doing his job, wearing a sandwich board at lunch to get people in from the courthouse, and doing this social media stuff. So I said, I will give you a year to make your salary. And if you can make that salary within a year, we're moving you up into the social media thing. He made it within 2 months. Our sales increased enough to pay his year salary.
Yeah.
And it was so amazing what he could do for this company. And from that day forward, he has been in charge of whatever there is to get business in here.
That's amazing.
It's
and he wants to see you. I mean, right? Here's this guy that's watched you from the beginning of all of it and just wants to be with his mom and cheer his mom on. And
it's a job.
It's a job.
And that's what we have to we have to know that. But and he will take over. He deserves to take over. Yeah. So now he does the daily operations too. He's the general manager. That's awesome. With him and I will sit and talk, and you have to keep changing things. People think this is dead
every
set.
Day.
Yeah, and you have to change. We brought Kayla Robinson in.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Yeah,
so that's an exciting shift here in the Arnold's kitchen.
It is. I couldn't be more thrilled that she's here, and she reminds me of me a lot, except she is just so much more knowledgeable than I am. She does. She's, about putting people in good places. Yeah. I feel very fortunate to have her, and one thing that is really awesome about having her is that she is equally as grateful as I am. So it's a two-way street, and she wants to give as much as I want her to, as much as I want her to succeed. And she's never really worked at a place. I don't know if she's ever worked at a woman-owned place. She probably has, but I don't know. But the way we treat people here is different than
your family.
She works 5 days a week. She works maximum 8 hours a day. If her daughter has something, she goes and she does it with her daughter. And I want to kind of get across to, it would be great to see that trend. And when I was hiring her, I interviewed a lot of people, and most of those people, and Kayla too, they work 6-7 days a week.
12-hour days, easily.
12-hour days.
Easy, without
easily. And then they go home and they're exhausted, and their life evolves around
exhaustion. It really does,
And I've been there, and I know.
It's a vicious cycle working that.
Yeah. But none of us work more than 5 days a week, and unless there's something special, and then
things happen.
Well, you get paid for it. You get compensated. Or like they filmed the movie here this past Monday, so I needed a couple people in.
Yeah.
So they got paid nicely. Not by me, by the film company, but I would have never asked
They
them.
get paid nicely by you every week or every other week, whenever they were.
But it just is, people don't have to work that hard, but what has happened is that their pay is reflected.
It's a work-life balance, which we talk about all the time, because I think that's such a not accurate statement, right? This work-life balance, I mean, because there's things that are happening that we have to attend to, but it's an integration. It's actually being able to have 2 days off a week, or just slow down or be present. And I know that, and we were talking earlier about just even this little kids. I mean, you miss so much because in the beginning you are working 70 hours a week or 80 hours or 90 hours for $1 or $2. But yeah, that whole, that we can change that. I talk a lot about it. Even people are like, how do you do it all? And I'm like, I go to bed at 7:00. Like, you have to learn to say that there is always tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. There is always tomorrow, and the fact is that we do not have to push ourselves beyond anymore. Like, we can change that for ourselves. It's a lot of work to do that. Yeah. And maybe not today. Maybe it's going to take you 2 years for that transition, but to die for our jobs. And jobs that we've started or created or own, but like, yeah, it's so. I think
you have to shift your thinking.
Yeah,
is what happens, and that, people, or myself, I should say, that until I figured out balance, and it's still not perfect. I was here 15 hours on Monday with that film crew, but I actually wanted to be.
Right,
it was fun.
Yep,
but I also left in the middle of that day to go to a meeting that I go to every Monday night.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to miss that. And then my phone's buzzing, and I go outside, and I had to leave the meeting 15 minutes early. But my whole point is that I wanted to do that.
You made a choice.
Yeah.
And the whole world didn't fall apart while you made a different choice to make you fill your life with good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times,
I think that's what we get in our heads over, right? Like, if I don't do this, everything's going to crash and burn, and that's just not. That's not reality.
But that is the mindset of most people. Or people will say, "Oh, I never have time to do this," and then I can remember I would say, "I don't have time." And what I've learned is
busy.
Yes.
People are like, "Oh, you're so busy," and I've shifted it to say, "I'm not busy at all. I have all the time in the world to do what I love." Yeah. And then because I realized, Rhonda, that I was spending parts of my day just telling myself that I was busy. Because that's like, right? Like, because you're on the hamster wheel of like, I'm so busy because everybody's telling me I'm so busy. And of course I'm busy, but it's because I love what I do.
Well, you know what's interesting too, and I found this is a hard lesson to learn. A lot of people will go, you're thinking you got to take care of somebody else, and there'll be, I never asked you to do that.
Right.
Or back in the kitchen, I feel like I have to all of a sudden start micromanaging.
Yeah.
Oh, well, who's got this? Why are there breadcrumbs here?
Yeah.
And it's like,
not your job.
No one's asking me to do their job. Or,
right.
And I think to learn that is to. And
you really then naturally grow leaders. Because they feel trusted by the person in charge. They said, how do you hire somebody? I said, you welcome them in with the expectation they're going to mess it all up. Yeah. Because we're human beings, right? Yes. Like, if we can't cultivate a community of human beings, we make mistakes, right? And so as the people in charge, to say, come in and be part of this, and it's okay if you mess it up, because it's if you learn from it, right? And we have that ability. And man, that is just one of my favorite things about being an employer, is that.
But I think you have to learn that. I don't think it comes natural. And two, when you look back, or I've had somebody that has said to me that I have said something that leaves an imprint on them, and I myself can even remember somebody saying something to me that has just it made me feel terrible, or like, hey, isn't that your job? Aren't you? And
right.
What they take away from it is horrible.
Right.
It's just they feel doomed. They feel like they're no good, and I think a lot of us have been kind of done that way.
Yeah.
You know, and I think to try your best, and I'm not perfect at it. Sometimes I'll come around a corner and go, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But I will
'Cause we're
also
human too.
go back and I will say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And every employee knows here, if I step out of line, I will be first to say I'm sorry. And I didn't always used to be that way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Misfits Thanksgiving?
Yes.
Tell us all about it. So what is it?
So this is a true story. Arnold's houses the misfits of the world. And we are all aware of it, and I am the biggest misfit of all. You know, that once you start hearing everyone's lives here, we're all brought together. And if you put all 40 of us together, we are so different in so many different ways, but we're all a little awkward. And that's a great word. We're awkward.
Yeah.
So 7 years ago, I decided I always love a big Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it had gotten where my Thanksgiving was not big. And my mom taught us that you have a big Thanksgiving, and my mom always invited every stranger into our house, doors open. And we were dirt poor beyond imagination.
Feed the people.
Just very poor. And she would open a door and feed it. So the first year I did it, I said, I'm going to open the doors. I'm going to have turkey, stuffing, whatever. Bring a side dish and what you want to drink. Because I'll have coffee, tea, whatever. But if you want to drink alcohol, you have to bring it, because that was my day that I didn't want to make one penny. I didn't want it to be financial.
Yeah.
So it was very well received, and 5 years later, there's honestly like 100 people. And the coolest thing is, if you picture the courtyard going down the one entire side was covered with food. And nothing was there was a couple of things duplicated, like there might have been 2 or 3 yams, but everything was different. It was so unbelievable.
Awesome.
And we got to have food that was so delicious. The director of Downton Abbey was here, and they wanted to know what an American Thanksgiving was like. They stayed the entire day. We had people get off the Greyhound bus. There were 3 kids, and they were going back to college, and this was a layover. So we're like the first restaurant from Greyhound.
Yeah.
So they were here,
That's so
and
cool.
it was so great. And then I was single. I've been married twice, and I went through a divorce, and it is a lot of work. So I thought, people tried to help, but it was still a lot of work.
Yep.
And so 2 years in a row, I thought, I'm not going to do it. So the last 2 years, I haven't done it. And then Kayla, when she found out about it, she said, we have to bring it back. So I said, I will bring it back if you promise to stay to the very end and if you help me. So we again are going to do it. So I don't know if we would call it the 6th or the 8th, because we had a little break for 2 years.
Yeah, you know.
But
Somebody's counting.
it is so amazing, and we call it Misfit Thanksgiving because it is just if you don't have anywhere to go. It's
Yeah.
not if you're down on your luck, which if you're down on your luck,
We're
that's a
welcome.
reason to come.
Yeah.
Anyone at all is welcome.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so we have all kinds of people.
That's
And
so
people
cool.
bring instruments, and we have music, and
That's what that of any celebration, that is the meaning of it.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
so good.
So yeah, that's a lot of fun, and really I was very selfish when I started it because I just wanted a big Thanksgiving dinner. So
I love that. Rhonda, I gotta ask one more question. What are you grateful for?
I am grateful for my life. I am grateful for finding a balance between my mind, my body, and my soul. Which involves a lot. I kind of wanted to talk about that because I had lost a lot of weight.
Yeah.
That's basically from a balance
Yeah.
and figuring out that I could fool myself all the time. And that's where I found in life. I always fool myself. But until you're being realistic about your intentions, then that's when you start moving forward. And the most grateful thing is that I'm grateful for the balance that I have in my life. I'm grateful that this place exists, but it's not the top priority that I have anymore, and it used to be the top priority.
Yeah.
So I love life. I'm digging it. It's lots of fun, and we struggle and we just move forward. But I'm human.
Good.
But yeah, the balance is
So good.
Is what I'm grateful for.
I encourage you guys all to get down to Arnold's. You're open for lunch. You're open for dinner. You're open all the time.
Music
it is a
every
neighborhood
night.
spot
It
every
is.
night.
It
Man,
is.
yeah. We've got a lot of friends that have played here over the years, so it's fun to see them and all the opportunities that you guys provide. I am so grateful for these conversations, and super excited that I got to talk to you and just hear more about Ronda and this amazing space that you guys own and operate here downtown Cincinnati. This is Kitchen Convos. We're at Arnold's Bar and Grill. I'm your host, Rachel DesRochers. I'm so excited to be chatting. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much. I'll give you a hug.
Yes, thank you.